Happy Friday, everybody. It's Dave here, March 7th, 2025. I've got all of your news for your rush hour ride to work. We made it to Friday. Well, we made it to Friday. The shuttle for the SpaceX didn't. Failure to land, actually. The rocket scattered across the Gulf of America, I believe. Is that what they're calling it these days? In the Bahamas, I'll share a video of that second failure in a row by SpaceX. But hey, if when at first when something doesn't succeed, what do? Shoot it into space and try again. Firefest performer, speaking about things that did not succeed at first, we've got Firefest 2 coming up, and the first performer has been announced. I'll share who that is. You may or may not care. Probably not. And also the conversation about daylight savings. Will it stay or will it go? Fans and folks alike are sort of torn on this issue. We'll get into that. And new Ryan Reynolds tea. That's right. Ryan Reynolds, somebody revealed a source that says he had quite an experience demanding his makeup artist show up or get fired. I'll share that story for you. In the never-ending Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively, dueling lawsuits and smear campaigns and crisis PR, everyone's working overtime, including me. But hey, we are here to cover all of it. And then we've got AOC giving her update why she is fighting for the people, not just the Democrats and not just the Republicans, but for the people, what she has to say. And then former Dancing with the Stars champion Maxim Chermakovsky of Ukraine gives an update on what he thinks needs to happen with regards to that war. So lots to get into, and I hope you stick around and enjoy this episode because it's Friday, baby. All this and more coming up next on The Rush. Well, Starship exploded during its 8th test flight yesterday. Fiery debris were caught on video. I'm going to share with you a clip from the Bahamas as it blew up. I mean, it was actually a very beautiful sight. I mean, it's sad that it blew up. No one was on board, so that's good, but they're testing this thing out, and here it is.
I just saw that Starship blew up. There it is.
So there it is in 1,000 pieces scattered across the sky and not looking good. You know what it's not looking good for? It's not looking good for those astronauts that are stuck in space, right? Because they're kind of trying to hitch a rocket home and, when these things start blowing up in the sky, that can't be nice. Well, here is Donald Trump, President Trump, suggesting that the astronauts stuck in space could possibly fall in love. Now, he's saying this facetiously, but here's what the Daily Mail had to report yesterday.
See this in space. What is your message?
So we love you and we're coming up to get you, and you shouldn't have been up there so long. We're going to get them out. We're coming up to get you. I hope they like each other, but maybe they'll love each other. I don't know. But they've been left up there. Think of it. And I see the woman with the wild hair, good solid head of hair she's got. There's no kidding. There's no games with her hair.
There's no games with her hair. Say what you want about Trump. I think he's very funny. I do. I can separate humor from potential policies that are sinking the markets, but hey, that's a different story. But yeah, the woman with that hair. So what's her name again? Who cares? She's got that crazy hair. Trump loves good hair. And speaking of performances, as they're seen here, between Trump's performance and Firefest 2, sometimes I don't even know what world I live in, to be quite honest. But here is Antonio Brown announcing that he is performing at Firefest. They really should call it Firefest 1 since the first one never got off the ground. But here it is.
Hey, yo, this AB, and I'll be performing at Firefest Part 2 in Mexico, May 30th. Be there, be square, and make sure you put that shit on.
All right, so there he is, Antonio Brown. I guess he's a rapper now, and I don't say what I'm about to say to make light of his situation, but he must have some sort of head trauma because he was he got hit really bad once and then became a very strange cat after that. Played for the Patriots briefly, got fired, got kicked off the team. Right? He was so talented, but had all of these problems. He quit live during one game. He literally just took his helmet off and walked off the field. He made $100 million playing football, and he's dead broke now. So now he's a rapper, and God bless him. It sucks, but he's had a lot of issues with the police and his baby mama and things like that. But that's who they got for Firefest, I guess. What does this even mean? I'm nervous for Firefest too. I want it to succeed. I really do. Not rushing to go buy my tickets. Back to Trump. Here's what he has to say about daylight savings time. Is it coming back, or is it going, I should say?
Forward on Sunday. When are you going to get rid of daylight savings?
Okay.
So he says the clocks are springing forward on Sunday. Is that this weekend? Oh my, I'm excited for that. It's been kind of dreary. I guess that means we made it out of the worst of the winter.
You ready? So, this should be the easiest one of all, but it's a 50-50 issue. And if something's a 50-50 issue, it's hard to get excited about it. I assume people would like to have more light later, but some people want to have more light earlier because they don't want to take their kids to school in the dark. And it's a little bit one way, but it's very much a 50-50 issue. And
I got to be honest, this is the most sensible I think I've ever heard Donald Trump be about anything. You know what I mean? That's the argument. You don't want to be in the dark in the morning when your kids are going to school. And I get it. I understand it. All right. Well, so I don't think they're going to be doing much about it. And coming up, all right, boy, this is a story I didn't know I was going to have to report on. Adrian Brody weighing options, including Evel Knievel project at Paramount following second Oscar win, The Dish. I hope he does good if he's in Evel Knievel, but not good enough where he wins another Oscar and we're subjected to another one of his speeches. That speech was hard. I'm still thinking about how bad it was. And then he shushed everybody. You got to be careful when you shush people, you know, especially your celebrity peers. It doesn't always go over that well. So either way, we'll have to see if he plays Evel Knievel, the stuntman. Wasn't Evel, can you imagine that? You do stuntmen before TikTok? Because now anybody can get on their phone and ride their dirt bike somewhere. But Evel Knievel, I mean, he was jumping over the Grand Canyon, wasn't he? All right, I'll watch the movie. Here's Sam Bankman-Fried behind bars. He's actually in the same prison as P. Diddy, and he was being interviewed by, who is this? Tucker Carlson. What a world we live in. What a world we're living, where this is the guy behind bars. He looks like a young Albert Einstein right here with his hair. Let's see how he's doing, I guess. I don't know.
Have you made friends there? Are you hanging with Diddy? I think he's in there with you.
He is. I don't know, you know, he's been kind. I've made some friends. It's a weird environment. You know, it's sort of.
Prison, breaking news, is a weird environment. And by the way, they're in like the celebrity division, like the notable division where you can't be in general population. So I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not trying to make light of it. It's bizarre. He's there really for financial crimes, right? Through crypto and all that. And Diddy's there for heinous accusations. I mean, heinous accusations. Odd couple.
A combination of a few other high profile cases and then a lot of, you know, ex-gangsters or sort of, you know, alleged ex-gangsters.
Yes. Definitely alleged. So what's Diddy like?
You know, obviously I've only seen one piece of him, which is, you know, Diddy in prison. And, you know, he's been kind to people in the unit. He's been kind to me. It's also, it's a position no one wants to be in. You know, obviously he doesn't, I don't, as you said, it's kind of a soul crushing place for the world in general.
Well, you know what's a soul-crushing place is being the victim of P. Diddy, right? That would be soul-crushing. If he committed the crimes he's been alleged to have committed. But we did watch that one. He beat his girlfriend. We saw the video footage of that. That happened, and for that reason alone, I hope he gets his karma. Either way, so I guess there's no baby oil in prison. I don't know what they're doing over there in their free time, but they're there in Brooklyn, and I don't know how he got the interview. Like, what a weird world we live in. We got third-party spaceships blowing up. NASA's got the astronauts stranded in space. Reality TV president. Diddy's in jail being interviewed by a former Fox News host who now has his own YouTube channel. Weird time to be alive. And speaking of weird time to be alive, wait till I share this with you. Fox News, I guess, has a podcast. I wasn't subscribed to it, but, and by the way, no one's watching it. It's only got 799 views in 8 hours. We do that in the first 3 minutes. But either way, they got a pretty interesting take here from this podcast host who looks like she belongs in some sort of cartoon. She looks like the secretary of one of those Pixar movies, right? Doesn't she look like the, what's the lady's name from the Monsters, Inc. movie? It doesn't matter. Either way, coming up next, I'm going to share her inside source about what Ryan Reynolds is like on set. All right, I was right. She looks like Roz from Monsters, Inc. Right there it is, right? The glasses, right? You can kind of tell. Anyway, no offense to you. It was just the glasses. They're a lot. I like them. So here's what the host of this podcast, I guess it's called Kennedy Saves the World, has to say about Ryan Reynolds on set. Have a listen to this.
Shines her billionaire-esque light. She got sick of Blake Lively using her for attention and to intimidate people. And Ryan Reynolds, by all accounts, seems like a great guy. He is acting. By all accounts, he is a total pain in the ass. I heard a story yesterday of a studio executive who was so frustrated with him when they were shooting Deadpool 2 because Ryan Reynolds had to do some reshoots for the movie. His makeup artist was out of the country working. Ryan Reynolds threatened to fire the makeup artist off the rest of the film and the reshoots they had to do, and also said, if you don't come back and do my makeup for these reshoots, you will never work in Hollywood again. He's one of those guys. So they are absolute bullies. Justin Baldoni, still a psycho. Like he's...
All right, so she's all over the place here. Kennedy is. Ryan Reynolds is a bully. Justin Baldoni's a psycho. And again, her source from Ryan Reynolds, who knows if it's legit or, third party, who knows. But I guess the deal is, and I'm not defending Ryan Reynolds, but is it a makeup artist, like someone who puts a little blush on you, or is it like someone who's doing your full body makeup and all of that if you're in one of these action movies with all of the stuff? I don't know. I don't know the full story. So I'm not going to judge deeply on this anecdotal piece of evidence. But now she's going to tear into Justin Baldoni. I guess she's all these guys are messed up.
I do believe that he was like, Blake Lively, I have dreams about your dead dad, and this is what he tells me. That's so gross and weird and manipulative, even if it's true. It's so just... This movie somehow was a magnet for awful people that happened to make a ton of money.
Now, I wouldn't claim to know what Justin Baldoni actually said or the context behind it. They've kind of alluded to it, but also, how can you trust what Blake Lively has to say that Justin said, considering she's mischaracterized multiple other things that he said? You know what I mean?
In the end, Justin Baldoni, who cares? No one knew who he was beforehand. Everyone knows who he is now. If he is a smart sociopath, he'll work that to his advantage. And Blake Lively, her brand, Ryan Reynolds' brand, have totally been tarnished by this because the world now sees them for who they are. They cannot act their way out of this. Once people have seen behind the curtain, they're usually less impressed than when they were dealing with the mists that have been created over the years for these people.
She's got a good point there with acting. There's a reason why actors generally don't do a ton of podcasts because, they just want to be, the good ones, right? They want to be seen for what they are on camera. And sometimes you don't want that allure to play in, who they actually are because they don't live up to whatever image is created for them, right? And so she nails that on the head. But to call Justin Baldoni a sociopath or whatever she called him, it's like, all right, well, who cares about Justin Baldoni? Probably his daughter, probably his wife. I'm sure there's other people that care. It really just comes down to wanting the truth out there. So again, if Justin, if Ryan Reynolds is mean to his makeup artist, it's like, all right, whatever. In a vacuum, that's not the story. The story was there a concerted effort for them to have wicked egos and really just running rampant with power and all of that? That's the story. But Justin, to answer her question, who cares? A lot of people seem to care. And I don't think I think it's not a political issue where the left feels this way, the right feels that way. A lot of people just want justice for people when they see that they're not getting that justice. And I think that kind of transcends political ideology. All right, well, let's move it along. Here we have Maxim Chermakovsky. Obviously it was a big week for, it's been 1 week since Trump and Zelensky had that terrible spat in the Oval Office. And now we have Maxim Chermakovsky, who was a Hall of Fame. Well, I don't think they have a Hall of Fame for Dancing with the Stars, but they should. And either way, Ukrainian professional dancer Maxim Chermakovsky. Here's what he has to say.
Just 3 short years ago, you were in Poland helping Ukrainian soldiers. Today, there's so much more going on with the Ukraine. So what do you think about the interaction between J.D. Vance, Trump, and Zelensky? How did you feel about that, watching that footage?
I mean, it's just, everybody's got an opinion. It's not about that at the moment. Like I said, I
try to be attached more to the actual people who are affected by all this than some politics of it all. But I looked at it as just just an unfortunate breakdown in communication at the worst possible time.
You know firsthand what aid does to the Ukraine, right? And President Trump is considering withholding aid to Ukraine. How harmful could that be to the Ukrainian people and people who are affected by this?
Again, there's few different thoughts going on in Ukraine specifically, and some who are absolutely exhausted and have no more left to give to this war. There are those who have nothing left, and therefore they're there till the finish line. They want nothing but victory. So it's very hard. It's very stressful. Obviously, it has been, and it's a war zone. It's not a conflict. I just want to remind people, it's not something that happens every now and again. No, this is something that bombings are happening every day.
Yeah, and again, like you said, it's a war zone, and it's not a war zone that they asked for. In other news, there was a big decision made by the Supreme Court a few days ago where the conservative judges actually ruled against Donald Trump. Some said at his speech the other night he was giving one of the judges the side eye because Justice Barrett didn't rule in his favor. But that's why when you appoint a judge to the Supreme Court, that's why there isn't, like, you can't just fire them for any reason. You're appointing them so that they'll be impartial. Now, that doesn't always happen, but in this case, it was a good showing to see democracy hold up, really. And here's what Alyssa Farah-Griffin had to say on The View.
I just didn't think I would live to see the day that Amy Coney Barrett was declared a rhino by MAGA. This so often happens.
Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah. I mean, this is just wild to me, and I deal with this a lot, where my positions have just not fundamentally changed, but the parties did, and she was right from a conservative constitutional standpoint in this ruling. It is about the separation of powers. It's about the fact that Congress has the power of the purse. These were congressionally.
This is over aid, several $1 billion in aid that was already given out that they tried to not pay the bill for, and the judges said no, you can't do that. You just can't do that. And it's about following the law. And the laws exist in some ways to make it a little bit more difficult for the executive branch. We call that checks and balances, right? It makes government work a little slow, which is frustrating. But the benefit there is that one party or one division of power, the executive branch, can't just run through everything. They're supposed to go through Congress, which we elect, our representatives, our senators. They're supposed to all work together. Now, obviously, it's been wildly gridlocked, but I think the way to overcome that is for the people to all get on board on what's best for our country. And one of the pieces of aid that has will be, the funding will be taken away is the SNAP program, which provides billions of dollars in what, we traditionally call food stamps to lower income people that need the money. Now, this is interesting. On The Daily Show, there was an interview that showed why providing lower income people with food stamps to boost their livelihood is actually helpful in the long run. Have a listen.
$1 billion dedicated to food stamps gets you $1.5 billion in our GDP. If you look at what it does for kids, the long-term economic and health benefit for kids, it's a huge return on investment. It's about $1 in food stamps gets you $62 coming back to you in a society.
Let me break this down for you folks. My mom was on food stamps as a single mom after she left my father before I was born. So she was on food stamps when she was pregnant with me, and then probably for a few years. She received government assistance to get herself back on her 2 feet, received a degree, was able to get, that middle class living, remarried, and then because of that was able to help, get me into college and whatnot. And I pay now in taxes way more than you think. I fill the potholes in the streets, folks. I pay my fair share. I'm taxed at a very generous level, and I'm almost proud to pay my taxes to the extent that I want them to go to programs that continue to give back to that social fabric that helps people. There's these ideas of welfare queens and people are going to sit on their ass. And generally speaking, people want abundance. They just want to get back on their feet when times are tough. With credit card debt and other issues, maybe you get injured on the job and you don't have protections and you can't work, or whatever the case may be, people generally want to get that assistance to boost them into more prosperous times.
Meanwhile, right, when we cut the corporate tax rate, the benefits we get are a lot less. We get a lot less than we're promised often when we're doing that. So investing in American people and stabilizing communities that need it the most is the best way for all of us.
You know, I have a pretty interesting lived experience with regard to social programs because, like I said, not only was my mom able to receive some grants and some support while she was a single mom, but likewise, my father, as a Vietnam vet and having PTSD, was on assistance from the government, and he, had the Veterans Affairs organization, right? He had the VA hospital, people that would take care of veterans and hotlines that you could call. And even though there was so many issues with Vietnam vets, PTSD wasn't even a term. They were said, oh, you got shell shock, right? They didn't know what was wrong with them. In their brains, there was something really wrong with them. Not just because what they saw, but because of the Agent Orange, the exfoliants and neurotoxins that they had to deal with. They came back really, really messed up. And for what, right? And so then to have that help for our tax dollars to go to help veterans, that's a big deal. That is something we should all be able to get behind. These programs enrich us. And sadly, those that have never fought in a war or had family that did wouldn't understand what it's like to have those benefits at your like a phone call away. Like, that is a good thing. In fact, I received some benefits in college due to my father being disabled from the Vietnam War. That was so helpful just to, again, not blow money on a bunch of like pizza and beer, but kind of get ahead and not be thrown into debt. So these programs have a return on investment. And with that said, we're seeing actually so much cut. In fact, like dozens, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs, a lot of veterans losing work and losing their livelihood. What is this going to do to the suicide rates that are already staggeringly high for veterans? Who cares about them? Democrats, Republicans, I don't want to place blame. Who's going to stand up and protect our vets, those that served in wars and fought for our country? Where are you?
Nearly 6,000 veterans have already lost their jobs and been terminated from federal service at an unprecedented rate, and will all enter the civilian workforce with less protections. While my time is limited, I just wanted to say this. This isn't subjective. This is evidence. This is evidence. In less than 2 months, this administration has proved itself to be the most anti-veteran administration ever.
And by the way, the vets are speaking out. They're speaking out, and then Speaker Johnson is saying, oh, they're just paid actors. Fuck off. Fuck off with that. So here's an update from AOC speaking about, hey, I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. I'm fighting for us to get some of these programs back.
If you are a fan of Donald Trump and you like to punish yourself by watching my live streams, welcome. I'm still fighting for your health care anyway.
And by the way, AOC received a ton of votes from Trump people, which just goes to show that while we like to think of it as binary, left versus right, it's not that. It's up versus down. There are plenty of people, and I wish the Democrats could get this through their thick heads. There are plenty of people that would vote Democrat if they thought that they were going to be fighting for their common good, right? All these elected officials, these rich people and their stock trading, the common person just wants to see that the money that they're making goes to good causes that everyone can rally behind. And believe it or not, universal health care is wildly popular. Wildly. whether you're on the left or the right. And if somebody has the balls to actually bring this thing up for people to vote on, we're going to see about that. Now, sadly, they're not even voting on this stuff that people so desperately want. Medical debt in one of the richest countries in the world should not exist.
If you are MAGA and you're on Social Security, congratulations. Welcome. I'm fighting for your benefits too. Because I actually believe that people should age with dignity in this country. I believe that people should have access to health care. We don't, quote unquote, have the money for a better and improved social safety net because we let assholes like Elon Musk gut Medicaid and gut Social Security in order for him to pay for A, his own tax cuts, and B, his own $1 billion in private federal contracts. This guy takes billions and billions of your tax dollars, of your public funds. A lot of tech talks about themselves as tech, but they're really just defense contractors. They're the new Boeing. They're the new Lockheed Martin. They are robbing us of the tiny slivers of what we have left in our collective public social safety net in order to get billion-dollar defense contracts. Because here's the thing. You want to hear another interesting fact?
Yes.
You could fire every single federal worker and it would still be something only like 4% of the federal budget.
And that's the issue, right? All of this quote unquote money they're saying that they're saving, it's not going back to us. They're going to do tax cuts, which essentially is money that comes out of our pockets for the rich, the people that make over $1 million a year. They're the ones getting the best tax deal. All of y'all, most of us, probably 99% of the audience makes less than $400,000 a year, and you'll be paying more in taxes. We can circle back next year and talk about this, but that's what's in the bill. And so AOC says, look, we're doing the math. You're going to be pulling these cuts from Medicaid, from poor people that are, that barely have decent health care. And it's going to rise all of our health insurance rates at the same time. So few people are speaking up about this on the political level that, voices like AOC, you may love her or hate her, but I fear more people hate her because they've been told to. But when you listen to her message, a bartender who rose the ranks in a pretty red area and was able to speak to the people. We need to know more about the blueprint that made that happen. So here we have the Secretary of Commerce. This is interesting, saying they want to change the formula for how to calculate GDP. This as they're preparing for the GDP to slip. Now, how does it work? If GDP slips 2 quarters in a row, that makes it a recession, right? Well, I guess if they just change the formula, it won't be a recession?
How worried should we be about an economy that is slowing in all of this? We saw the GDP last week. Are any of these moves worrying you that we're actually going to see it cut into growth over the near term negatively?
No. So let's, the Commerce Department runs the statistics of GDP. They count government spending as part of GDP. So I'm going to separate those two and make it transparent.
All right, we're just going to change the way we calculate GDP. So that way, when the economy's not doing well, it won't look that way. I mean, this is akin to North Korea when everyone claps for the dictator or cries when somebody dies and they have to show all these emotions so that the supreme leader knows that, that's what this is akin to. So here we have tariffs finally going to effect, Trump going back on some of them, and it's like people don't even know what they're negotiating for. Are these good? Are they bad? And the best case scenario, people say, oh, it's only going to hurt for a little bit. What are we, hazing each other in a fraternity? Oh, it's only going to hurt. Yes, brother, may I have another? Here we have Trump saying he doesn't look at the stock market, which is the biggest case of baloney here, as the stock market has kind of, taken a real dive. It's gone down. It's the lowest it's been in a good. I mean, we were on a pretty massive rally, so it was set to deflate. I mean, the stock market was not going to be sustainable at the level that it was, but the quickness in which it's crashing. I mean, literally, as he's speaking, you can just watch it plummet.
Some of these exemptions that have been announced and some of these temporary delays, have you been influenced in those decisions because of the market reaction?
Well, there were no delays at all. No, nothing to do with the market. I'm not even looking at the market because long term, the United States will be very strong with what's happening here. Now, these are countries and companies, foreign companies that have been ripping us off.
All right, so he goes back to ripping us off. But, these countries don't even know exactly why they're being tariffed. These trade wars are hurting the American people, and they can't afford it. And, some people might say, oh, Dave, don't talk about this type of stuff. What do you know? Well, somebody needs to talk about it. So you can complain all you want, but here I am rallying for veterans and checks notes. Poor kids? Yeah, I think we deserve to, all live in a world where we can kind of take care of each other. Let's be less selfish and look out for each other, right? Shouldn't that be the American way? All right, well, we'll get some content in today. A couple YouTube videos coming your way, so stick around for those, and then we'll be back this afternoon to wrap it all up. What a wild week. I'm Dave Neal. Have an excellent one. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you on the other side. This is The Rush.